I never thought I'd be the reason someone's life got flushed down the toilet. Last summer in Austin, when the heat made the pavement steam and bass thumped from every bar downtown, I was working at this dive cantina on 6th Street. I'd serve drinks, dance when the tips were slow, and sometimes take guys to the back room for a quick $100 when the owner wasn't watching. Not my dream job, but rent in Austin isn't cheap. This one guy started showing up every Friday night for 3 months straight. Quiet type, always in the same corner, nursing the same cheap beer for hours. Our eyes would meet when I was dancing, and he'd look away like a schoolboy. At first, I thought it was cute, then I realized he was never gonna spend real money. Just another loser getting off on watching me for the price of a beer. I'd wink at him sometimes, throw a little extra hip action his way, hoping he'd get the hint and cough up some cash for more than just the floor show. But he never approached. Just sat there with those sad, hungry eyes like I was some kind of angel. That Thursday in August was brutal hot. I was counting my pathetic tips when this rich prick in designer clothes sat down next to me. Rolex on his wrist, that rich guy cologne that tries too hard. He ordered top shelf tequila and slipped me an extra $100 just to talk to him. Easy money. I was laughing at his lame jokes, letting my fingers brush his arm, the usual routine, when Corner Boy suddenly stood up. His chair scraped so loud everyone turned to look. The expression on his face was pure jealousy, like he had some kind of claim on me. "She's not interested," he said, voice tight like a wire about to snap. I was pissed. Who the hell was he to cost me a paying customer? Rich guy stood up. Think she can decide that for herself. Then it all went to shit fast. They shoved each other. Corner Boy pulled a pocket knife, and suddenly rich guy's white shirt was blooming red. The music cut. Everyone froze. The owner was already calling 911 while Corner Boy stared at his hands like he couldn't believe what they'd done. Then he bolted out the back. Rich guy didn't die, just a flesh wound. Cops showed up, asked if I knew the stabber. I told them I only knew his usual order and where he parked his sad ass every Friday. Didn't tell them how I'd sometimes catch him watching me fix my top in the mirror, or how I'd give him a little extra show, hoping he'd finally man up and offer some cash for private time. 3 nights later, the owner called me. Cops had ID'd Corner Boy and spotted his car heading back into Austin. Something made me grab my keys and follow the police scanner on my phone. Curiosity, I guess. Or maybe I felt responsible. He'd obviously built some pathetic fantasy around me instead of just paying for what he wanted. I got there just as his car flipped trying to avoid a roadblock. Before I knew what I was doing, I was running toward the wreckage. Cops were shouting to stay back, but I kept going. He was hanging upside down, blood all over his face, looking at me like I was Jesus come to save him. "Been looking for you," I whispered, surprising myself. I held his hand through the broken window until paramedics arrived. I even kissed his forehead and said, "I'll wait for you." Total bullshit, of course. I'd said worse things to get better tips. But he looked so pathetic, and cameras were rolling. Maybe I thought I'd get on the news. I visited him once in the hospital. Guards posted outside. We finally talked. He apologized, crying about how watching me gave him a purpose and other stalker garbage. I wrote a couple letters when they transferred him to prison, visited twice. The glass between us made him less pitiful, more like just another sucker with a hard-on and empty pockets. 6 months later, the owner told me the news. Other inmates found out why Corner Boy was there, stabbed someone over a dancer he'd never even touched. He shanked him in the shower. Prison justice. I was the only one at his funeral besides the chaplain. Standing in the rain, watching them lower a man I barely knew, I felt nothing but relief. One less pair of desperate eyes watching me from the corner. One less fantasy I had to pretend to give a shit about. His table's empty now. Sometimes new customers sit there, and I wonder if they can feel the desperation soaked into the wood. I still dance, still serve drinks, still sneak off with customers who actually understand the transaction. This city chews up the weak and spits them out, and I've survived worse than some dead man's obsession. What kills me is that if he'd just offered me money like everyone else, he'd probably still be alive. Instead, he had to make it into some big love story. Men are all the same, they either want to own you or worship you, but they never just see you. At least the ones who pay are honest about what they want. And that concludes one of the most haunting stories we've ever featured on this channel. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to this cautionary tale about the dangers of obsession and the painful aftermath of violence. If this story affected you, please hit that like button right now. It helps us reach more people with these important warnings about recognizing the signs of dangerous fixation. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you never miss our future uploads. Your support means everything to X by X Confidential. I'm curious, have you ever noticed someone paying too much attention to you, or have you ever misinterpreted someone's friendliness as something more? What would you have done differently if you were in this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them. Until next time, remember to be aware of your surroundings and trust your instincts when something doesn't feel right. This is X by X Confidential, bringing you the stories that most people are afraid to tell.